forget all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight black mass.
Ghastly greetings, groovy ghoulies, and happy Halloween to you all. Welcome to the Halloween edition of the Midnight Black Mass. Our guest this week is the returning Andrew Alexander. We'll be back for a part 2 of a quite interesting interview, and we're actually going to come back with a part 3, it's looking like. This week, the main discussion is booking in professional wrestling. So what you're actually going to hear is just a discussion between two guys who do or have done the job, the pluses, the minuses, what makes it worth doing, what irritates you the most about it, just sort of the realistic perspective of what it's like to actually be a booker. And I think a lot of guys that maybe have never been in that position before, and myself included, prior to actually doing it, you don't really understand how much it entails and just exactly how much detail is involved in that job if you do it right. So we're going to have an open door discussion on booking in professional wrestling tonight. And that is going to continue over into next week because there was plenty of discussion and it was good the whole time. So we're going to bring you that here in just a moment. I just want to say you can catch me at Empire Wrestling tonight on in Rossville, Georgia on 22 Austin Avenue. I'll be hosting the Rebs Midnight Black Mass live there. Special guest will be the winner of the Chasing the Grail tournament, Mr. Joey Lynch, talking about his upcoming match for the Empire Heavyweight Championship against the Temptation Sean Tempers. I'll be appearing with Empire as well on November 8th during the play-by-play for their all-female wrestling event. And on November the 15th, I will be with Empire at the Superstars of Wrestling Fan Fest. You can go to superstarsfanfest.com for more information about that, but there'll be lots of professional wrestling legends on hand. We're going to have Jim Cornette. They're going to have Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and so many more. Even Jake the Snake Roberts is going to be appearing and conducting a seminar at Superstars of Wrestling Fan Fest. So I know a lot of our audience is up and coming potential or involved independent wrestlers. So just my advice, if you take it, would be to make sure you attend that seminar. Never know when guys like Jake are not going to be around anymore. So you don't want to miss out on those opportunities while they're there. Certainly an amazing learning opportunity for you. So check that out. This Halloween, it's been a wonderful one this year. I have enjoyed it with my little one. It's not included the debauchery of years past, but still have a wrestling event to attend, so perhaps that'll still come. But it's definitely been awesome introducing a new person to Halloween. And my daughter, because she's almost 3, it's really her first Halloween where she understood what was going on, and she loved it. We watched The Witches, the Roald Dahl movie from my childhood to get prepared for it, along with a host of other kid-friendly monster movies. And it was a hilarious moment, the moment where they reveal the witches and they're all fucking gnarly and they're bald and they've got this cradle cap, this scalp infection, and they peel off their skins to reveal these hideous noses. And, I remember as a kid being pretty freaked out by that. I remember thinking it was pretty awesome, but I remember being pretty freaked out about it. Well, my kid, Miss Lorelai, now she's going as a princess, as Sophia the First, Disney character, for Halloween. But during this particular film, she showed no mercy and no fear. During the witch reveal scene, she was jumping up and down and clapping her hands. So one of those twisted, proud parenting moments there that I was amazed with and happy to share with you here on the Midnight Black Mass. Watched a lot of horror flicks, watched all the Rob Zombie movies. Those are always favorites. Got to watch Halloween. I really haven't watched Trick or Treat this year, which you really need to. It's really an awesome annual Halloween tradition. But as the Ghetto Boys would say, this year Halloween fell on the weekend, so you really get 2 nights of it, in my opinion. Had Friday night last night, the actual All Hallows Eve, and then today is actually the Day of the Dead in Mexico. And since it's the weekend, it kind of carried on in the USA to a weekend-long Halloween celebration, and that's always a-okay with me. The Revs rant this week. Last week I ranted about females and not even females, because that'd be sexist. Males and females, toxic relationships, and how they can derail your professional wrestling career. This week on the Revs rant, completely unrelated to that. Actually, it's a positive rant. I attended the AIWF National Wrestling Showcase. I pulled a marathon night there of 6 hours on commentary. It was an interesting event. They had talent from all over the country. But one thing that was very interesting to me was the dedication of all of the guys, especially the really talented ones that drove from out of state to come be a part of this event. I really appreciate they took great care of me there. It certainly, by all accounts, there was some chaos, and they were being pretty ambitious, trying to think they were going to get that many guys onto a normal-sized wrestling event. But I just want to take some time to say, whatever that event was to the local town, and, I hope the people there want to come see wrestling after sitting through 6 hours of it. Hope they want to come back and see it again. But, hey, good on them for at least trying to be ambitious and do something different and living up to their word and taking care of everybody. And it was a mess, but I had a good time. So, shout out to Matt Classic and the AIWF crew. If there's anything I can do for you in the future, please let me know. But more importantly, shout out to the boys, the wrestlers who drove from all over the country just to try to get on another type of event where they're going to network and meet other guys. And it's a different approach. The territory system is dead and gone. It couldn't be further underground as much as we want it to come back. So, with these guys traveling and doing a lot of these bookings, maybe not, I don't know what they're getting paid. I got taken care of, but some of these guys might have been, who knows what they're driving in for. They're using it as an opportunity to network and impress other wrestlers and impress other promoters and get booked other places. That's cool. That's a way to think forward and try to evolve what's going on instead of getting stuck in a situation where you're helpless. So, hey, more power to you on that. And that's all for the Revs rant this week. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and we'll be right back with our guest, Andrew Alexander. Don't go anywhere.
The Midnight Black Mass is pleased to announce we have become an affiliate of the World Wrestling Network at WWNLive.com, the home of the finest iPay-per-view and video on demand in all of professional wrestling, featuring promotions like Dragon Gate USA, Evolve, Combat Zone Wrestling, OVW, Shimmer, Shine, $5 Wrestling, and the vaunted Kayfabe commentaries with their U-Shoot, their guest booker, and their timeline series. You have to check it out. Of course, you can always go to their main page at WWNLive.com, but if you will, do us a solid, go to Facebook.com/PottyHumor or follow me on Twitter at Dragons Rejects. We'll be posting our own unique links to these events as affiliates. If you go through our link, they give us a little kickback, and we greatly appreciate it. The Midnight Black Mass and the Potty Humor Network special event coming up on October the 10th at 9 p.m. from Ybor City, Florida. The lovely and vicious ladies of Shine 22 will be locking horns. You can view that live on video on demand on WWNLive.com for $9.99 for streaming and $14.99 for streaming live and later video on demand viewing. That's Shine and the iPay-per-view October the 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. See all of the toughest and most beautiful women in all of professional wrestling do battle.
Whether you're having an autograph session, personal appearance, or live event, we got just the person you need to contact for all of those needs. SBI Bookings is home of some of the best stars in the wrestling industry today. They provide you with the best talent this business has to offer, from Kevin Nash, Larry Zbyszko, Scott Steiner, and many, many more. So who will you contact next time you're planning an event? The men of SBI Bookings. Check them out at sbibookings.com.
Wrestling fans, Anarchy Wrestling television tapings are the second and fourth Saturdays of every month at 4236 Level Grove Road in Cornelia, Georgia. For more information on Anarchy Wrestling and on the shows, to watch the television product, and a whole lot more, go to anarchy-wrestling.net. That's Anarchy Wrestling, the second and fourth Saturdays of every month in Cornelia, Georgia.
Hey kids, you know you want to be the coolest cat on the block with your official Midnight Black Mass merchandise, available at midnightblackmass.spreadshirt.com. Just in time for Halloween, we have brand new Midnight Black Mass t-shirts, we have reject t-shirts, we have beanies, we have hoodies, and more over at midnightblackmass.spreadshirt.com. Get your merchandise today and be one of the cool kids.
Where can you find 24/7 pro wrestling, MMA, talk radio, and more? BeyondRingside.com, featuring 24/7 streaming audio, including the Midnight Black Mass, Sundays at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, except for pay-per-view weekends when they run a mini marathon and the Midnight Black Mass goes on as its namesake at midnight. But don't forget the other great shows like Beyond Ringside, Wrestle Rage, To Be Determined, and more. That's BeyondRingside.com.
Hey kids, get your official Midnight Black Mass merchandise just in time for Halloween at midnightblackmass.spreadshirt.com. Be the coolest ghoul on the block with your brand new Reject or Midnight Black Mass t-shirt. Get them exclusively online. Online exclusive, people. midnightblackmass.spreadshirt.com. And we're back on the Midnight Black Mass, the Halloween edition. And we know the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest, and that has nothing to do with what we're about to talk about. But since it's a former reject, I just would like to craft a little atmosphere for this discussion. So imagine we're sitting around a round table and there's some fog and maybe a Ouija board and some candles and lots of cool stuff to set the tone. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again for part 2 of his Midnight Black Mass interview, the Hollywood Hacksaw, the Southeastern Strangler, and for our discussion tonight, the Booker of Empire Wrestling, Mr. Andrew Alexander. Welcome back, pal.
That's another good intro, man. And I got to say, this is a big honor to be on the Halloween show, right? Like, this is a big deal.
It is the night of all nights for the reject. I had to have a family member here on the Halloween edition, you understand? And this is like going to be the show where it gets wild. That's right. And this is where it gets wild and nasty and unfiltered. So I figured Halloween was appropriate, right?
Yeah, I guess people know me if they listened last week. Let's break into it. Let me start off with my disclaimer like I did last week, just because I'm not that guy again. In the grand scheme of wrestling, I don't know shit about what I'm talking about, but, spent several years trying to master a craft and having some opinions and some ideas, so we're sharing them. So hopefully people agree. If they don't, well, I guess they can suck it, right? Because I'm the guest.
That's right. This is your time, so.
That's right.
So
all right, man, shoot, let's go with it. Booking.
Yeah, let's roll. Booking 101. As far as that's such a unique job, and there's so very few real bookers left in professional wrestling. So let's talk about some of the misconceptions of booking right off the bat. I think a lot of people think that they can just throw together names on a card and that makes them a booker. And there's a lot of reasons that doesn't make them a booker, but one would be long-term vision. What else would you feel clarifies those misconceptions?
Yeah, like you said, a lot of guys they think it's just throwing some matches and, what'll be the best match? What'll be the best match we can have tonight? And I don't, that's always great to have a match that is going to just deliver and be top notch. But, there's quite a bit more to that, especially which, like you said, a lot of shows, they may do an angle or two or, have something big going on the show, but the rest is kind of just like, hey, here's some guys. But, at Empire Pro Wrestling at 22 Austin Avenue in Austell, Georgia, that I try very hard. The show is very storyline oriented and detail oriented, and we do a lot of promos and vignettes that air on our large screen. I really try to, people can hate on and doubt, the WWE and their product and complain about it, and that's their right as wrestling fans. But let's face it, they're the top dogs. They always have been and they always will be, until someone comes along and knocks them off the top of the mountain, which I don't see that happening, And I just try to model our show just a little bit out of after Raw, with the vignettes and some of the things like that. And, matches, your average wrestling show that you go to, the matches will be, it's just like, okay, guys, go as long as you want to. And that's not, unless you're really, really good, I mean, a whole different level of good, you're not going to go out there and capture people's attention for 30 minutes, for 40 minutes. Even more than 10 minutes, especially now, because the average match on Raw is 5, 6, 7 minutes? That's what wrestling fans are used to seeing. And so often at independent shows, or especially, smaller shows like we do have in Georgia and the Southeast, it's just go out there and go until you want to stop. And not only are the guys not good enough to do that, even if they were, people don't always want to see a 30-minute match especially that has no meaning to it, and you see that a lot. So I try to keep the matches a little shorter. They're not 4 or 5 minutes. They're short enough to get the story across, but not too long to put people to sleep. Do some vignettes.
And let me cut in there a little bit too. There's a time that for the longer matches. That's not to say that, but you are minding people's expectations in the era of smartphones and attention spans being literally 5 seconds. It's all about in the context of the story.
Exactly. And I love longer matches. I love when you have more of a chance to tell a story and, a little bit of an old school mentality and things like that. But every match on the card does not go 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Every match on the card does not have a reason to. Say your main event, maybe it has a little more time. If you've got something with a big story behind it, maybe it has a little more time. I mean, maybe if you have 2 guys that that are going to go 15 minutes and it be top notch, maybe they go a little longer. You have a big show, the equivalent of a pay-per-view, but a big show that you have months in the planning. Yeah, you try to give those matches more time. But and I'm all for that. I'm a big fan of that. But in today's wrestling, like you said, people have a smartphone. If you have an internet connection and people have a smartphone, they're not going to watch your match for longer than 10 minutes before they're checking Facebook, they're looking at Instagram, they're texting people. I mean, you need to keep these people involved. You can't think just because you have their money already, it doesn't matter, because you want them to come back and you want them to tell people. It's like, you got to go to this show because these guys put on a great show. And that's what we try to do. And I want to present it as close to as what they see on TV as possible. Are we anywhere near that league? Of course not. But I would like people to go there and you'd be like, you know what, man, that show was really good, and that was interesting how they had this, and they had some comedy, and they had this seriousness and things like that. I mean, I've heard several fans leave our show or talk about our show or just discuss our show and say that we're a better product than Impact Wrestling. Do you know how, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with that by any means, but do you know how much of a huge compliment that is? Yeah, you're better than a national wrestling organization that's on cable television weekly, seen by millions of people. I think that's a pretty big deal.
I would agree. It's a huge deal, and it's a testament to just putting in the effort and making sure the fine details are taken care of. And that's another difference between being somebody who's just throwing matches together and a booker. Yeah, you can put every great matchup that you have on a card, and then what are you going to do after that? And what are you going to do 6 months from now? What are you going to do a year from now? Because all of that's important, and really, long-term planning is very important in professional wrestling, and you're not going to be able to long-term plan match by match, event by event, but you better have an idea where you're going, because if you don't, then you're flying by the seat of your pants, and sometimes you can get lucky that way, but it's lack of preparation, and that usually leads to confusion and a bad product.
Absolutely, guys that book week to week. I mean, do I have a show 2 months in advance booked exactly? No. But do I have some ideas for more than half of our roster? Like, what do we need to get to? What do we need to get across? Who do we need to get more over or more important in the fans' eyes? Yes, I'm always thinking of that stuff. And because so many guys, so many bookers, quote unquote, they book shows week to week, or the worst that I hate and that I see, guys will show up, they're not even booked. They're just there. Oh, man, you want to work? Yeah, sure. Well, make this match a three-way match. Get in that match because you're here. Oh, you'll work for free? Yeah, you can do this match. I've never and will never do that. And I've had guys, somebody cancels, and I'm like, hey, man, your opponent canceled. I really don't have an idea. I can't use you. Well, what if you just threw me in this and made it as a three-way? Why are we having a three-way match with nothing on the line? I mean, I hate three-ways to begin with, but why would you do one with the winner doesn't get anything or doesn't have a reason for winning other than the victory? A title shot or something along those lines, maybe you can do one of those. But just throwing one on there, that's a classic example of something people do for no reason. And I just hate booking for no reason. I'm not saying every match is like, oh, you poured sugar in my gas tank and I'm going to kick your ass, and every match doesn't have to have some personal issue, but have a reason for it. Have a goal to accomplish coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly overbooking. That's one of Vince Russo's biggest criticisms is, and in some people's cases, the supporters, maybe one of his biggest compliments is that he had everybody on the card involved in something, and sometimes you don't need everybody on the card in a feud. You still have to present wrestling as sport. And to do that, you have to have matches of guys just trying to beat each other for contendership and rankings and to climb that ladder and get that next shot. And a lot of times there's just no continuity with that, and that drives me up the fucking wall.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I'm sure guys could see the show and see me using maybe someone who shouldn't even be in a spot where they're getting a little promo time or getting maybe an occasional win or something like that. But, if you've got these guys there all the time, I would like the fans to see this guy come out in the match and not just assume. I'm not saying a new guy that it's the first time he's there. I'm not saying let's make that guy a contender, but I would like to see, if a guy's there every show, give him a win every now and then, give him a flute, give him something to where when people see him, they don't get up and go to the bathroom, or they don't go get pizza, or they don't go, well, this guy's not going to win. He has no chance. People love an underdog. People love that story. And I want guys that are on the show on a weekly basis or a semi-weekly basis, I want people to care about them. So they'll get behind them. They'll cheer. The match will be better when the fans are into it. The match, if you're out there having a match and no one cares, it instantly affects you. I mean, I don't care who you are. You're instantly going to feel that and instantly be like, man, what do I got to do? But I'm sure people could look at that and say, no, that guy's just an enhancement talent. That's all he'll ever be. And that's fine. But, try to use some outside talent for stuff like that, that's one problem. And I'm not one of these haters of today's wrestling product. Do I love it as much as I used to when I was younger? No. Do I watch it as religiously as I used to? No, but I think it's still a great product. I still think the guys are doing an awesome job, and sometimes they're dealt bad cards and they still try to do the best with it. But I think that's a problem is they don't use any local talent anymore for enhancement matches. They're using contracted guys they're using a Zack Ryder that people once cared about and could care about again. He's putting people over in 2 minutes. Why couldn't you go to a town and have an Ace Rockwell or a Sean Tempers or somebody that people don't know on a national level do that job for that talent, instead of having one of your contracted guys. Exactly, and make them look good, make them look strong, give them a good match. You're telling me that Sean Tempers couldn't work Rusev and have a good match with him and make Rusev look strong, make Rusev look like $1 million, and you're paying him $200 opposed to paying some other guy, a 6-figure salary a year for doing the same thing. Have your talent that you actually pay money to be there, have them matter, and have them selling some T-shirts and some action figures and stuff like that. Have people care about them. Back in the day, the TVs were, obviously the business has changed, but, the TVs, they use tons of enhancement talents. That's almost all it was, which I'm not saying that's the way to go by any means. Give us some good quality matches. But if you're going to have Rusev squash somebody in 60 seconds, why isn't it me? Why isn't it a 200-pound guy? If people know the squash is coming, just give them the squash. Don't make it somebody that you're paying a ton of money. Let the fans care about that person.
Man, it's protection and it's versus overexposure. And I think in WWE, a big problem is just that they have so much TV. Without doing the enhancement stuff, the guys are getting incredibly overexposed. They're seeing them several times a week out there. And, if you recall that star aura of a Hulk Hogan in the 80s, you didn't see him on TV every week, or if you did, he certainly wasn't wrestling. And you just see everybody all the time. And so that relates to booking, because on an independent level, you got to worry about those same pitfalls, and you have a little more control over it because you're not answering to a corporate entity or 2 television programs that you got to run nationally. They're 2 hours long or 3 hours in one case. So how do you avoid overexposure, and how is that a giant pitfall to a booker?
Oh, I think they could easily do that. I don't think they have too much TV. I do think a 3-hour Raw is a little too long, because 3 hours is a long time to do, almost anything. If you go to a movie that's not a 5-star classic film and it's 3 hours long, you're eventually going to go, man, what time is it? I think they did a great job when they had like the brand split. When one show you saw these guys, and then on the other show you saw different guys. I think that because there was a time there where they had Raw, ECW on Tuesdays, Superstars on Thursday, and SmackDown on Fridays, and I think the product was a little better because ECW had its group of guys, and Superstars would give you some longer matches. SmackDown had guys, Raw had guys. Like, you don't overexpose your talent because you only have them on that one show. If you want, and occasionally you do some crossover, and that makes that interesting too. And you can have, it's great that they do the dark matches with, Cena and guys that, kids want to see or parents pay to see for their kids and things like that. Because I'm sure Hogan probably, would work the live events, at least one match. But he wasn't on the TV constantly working, How many guys do they have that are great? I mean, a guy like Randy Orton is amazing. He's so good. He's so good you forget how good he is because he makes it look so easy. But he's been doing the same type of shtick for so long that it can't just be. I mean, I'm sure casual fans are like, "Oh, it's him again." You know what I mean? Like if they're working different people, they're working some of these younger guys. It is different because even though they may be doing the same thing, it's playing off someone who's different and fresh and new. But when you're doing the same thing, that's where the smart fans are like, "Oh, this sucks. This sucks." It's. I hate to say that. I hate to even think stuff like that, but it's those little things that if they adjusted a little, I think, there's always going to be people complaining about something. I mean, that's what people do, and that's fine, but I don't always think it's a fair thing. I think they could just tweak little things, and it's a whole different product. It's a whole different ballgame, and that comes with booking. I mean, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you have guys that are going to be there every week, that are dependable, that show up, that do what you ask, and things such as that. You want to use those guys every week because you don't have to worry about anything. You tell them, do this, and they do it. But you got to be careful because you don't want fans to go, I've seen this match. I saw this match last month. I saw this match 3 or 4 times before. And, that's tough. That's something I run into. I'm sure it's something everybody runs into. But people just see what they see. They don't think about anything else. They don't think about any of the outside factors. They don't think about somebody no-showing or someone getting hurt or someone being in a position getting suspended in, a bigger company or things like that. And the show's got to go on. Yeah, I can't go out there when an Empire show starts and go, hey, Tank got hurt. He can't wrestle in the match we advertised. We're just going to cancel the show. That's not an option. That's absolutely not an option. And people don't see that. It's definitely not an option for a publicly traded company. Obviously, it's a bigger deal, but people don't think about all that stuff. They're just like, oh, this sucks. This writing sucks. This booking sucks. And it's like, they can't give you what you want every week on every show, because then you're not going to want that anymore. I mean, you understand what I'm saying, I'm sure. I mean, maybe you can add something to that. I'm sure you can.
I do. Well, and they serve a lot of masters. I always say I hate critiquing WWE because it just makes you sound like an indie asshole with sour grapes. Really at the end of the day, and I'm not. Like I'm an indie asshole maybe, but no sour grapes at all. Like the little experience I had with them was wonderful, but it's just like I'm not a huge fan of the way things are booked right now. But you know what? Like, they got a lot of masters to serve. It's not just one booker anymore. It would probably be a lot easier on them if it was, but that's not the way it is, and they got to deal the hand that they're dealt. They're a publicly traded company now. They have stockholders to answer to. They have a board to answer to. So, they have to do things a certain way, and, they're the ones making the billions, so who am I to question it?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is people, and I mean, it's kind of fair to look at the booker, but people always look at the booker, and there's like the booker's fault. The boys will, the workers will, the people that promote the place, anybody that's affiliated with the show, it's automatically the booker's fault. And that's cool. I can take that heat, but it's not always the booker's fault. It's not that match wasn't that good. I mean, I'm using two guys that I know can have good matches. Why didn't they have a good match? Was that my fault? Am I supposed to go out there and hold their hand and tell them, do this, don't do this? Am I supposed to, we don't have headsets. We can't communicate with the referee. And even if we could, am I supposed to say, tell them to stop doing this, do this right now, do this right now? I mean, that shouldn't be my job. The guys in the ring should be handling that. When someone cancels because their car broke down, or because their girlfriend said, I don't want you to go to wrestling this week, or because there's a fucking football game on TV, is that my fault? No, that's not my fault. There's so many outside influences, and then okay, your person A's opponent canceled, and I have to go to them. Hey, your opponent canceled. We don't really have anything. Maybe we could have a promo. Maybe we could do this. We don't have anything, and they're pissed off and they're pissy, and it's on me. Oh, well, he wouldn't have had me do this match. He wouldn't let me do this. I pitched making this a three-way. I pitched letting me do this run in, and he wouldn't do it. No.
The ever-present held-back talent, in a lot of cases, guys think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they think that the booker is holding them back, and it's like you don't understand the full picture. The booker might have plans for your ass down the line. You might be waiting to finish up this other program and see how that goes before he can slide you into the slot with the next push. It's like guys they don't fucking get the big picture sometimes.
Exactly. Or it could be a case, God forbid, I mean, I don't know. I know it's rare to see this in wrestling, but it could be a case of you're not that good, or you can't cut a promo, or you don't have any sort of presence. Like, you walk out there and you do not come across as someone people should be paying money for. Or maybe you do, but the booker just doesn't see it. And he doesn't see that in you, and he doesn't know how to get that out of you. And that sucks. That sucks to be in that position, to have all this God-given talent, and for someone who's in charge to just not see it. But guess what? They're in charge. So that's going to fall back on them, and you've just got to keep working and keep, the cream will rise. It will rise. If the
it will. And
attitude,
the best bookers miss out on good talent. Like I've worked with a myriad of really good bookers in my career, and I've seen all of them. And I don't consider myself a really good booker, but I'm respected by some people. So I'll at least say that whoever respects me will respect this opinion. Is I've missed out on guys. There were guys that went on to become great talents that I didn't see nothing in. Likewise, there were guys that I really thought were going to set the world on fire that didn't drop 2 turds in a fucking bucket,
Exactly.
It's just the way it goes sometimes, man.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough, and people, and maybe people take it personally. Like I don't, man. You know for a fact, I book people that I can't stand. I book people that I don't like. I even book people that I don't particularly see anything in. But guess who does? The fans. Guess this person would work great in a story, or this person could do this, or this person has something. Even if maybe I don't see it, but the fans do, or maybe I do see it and I just hate the guy personally. I don't care. I don't care if you are my absolute worst enemy. If you can work and have a decent match and will do what I ask you to, I'll put you on the show. I don't have to be your friend. I don't have to hang out with you. But guys take it so personally. Like I'm protecting this guy, or I do more favors for this guy, and I'd leave this guy out, and that's never ever my intention. Like I appreciate. I'm sorry.
No, every booker has his favorites. I mean, every booker has a crew of guys that he's going to bring in because he knows they're dependable, and they've either done business for him in the past, or they've shown him they can do business, and so he's going to have a crew of guys. That's the fucking way it is. That's the wrestling business. Sometimes you just got to get in where you fit in. You might get looked over by that great booker somewhere, but I'm sure if you got the fucking talent, you'll get over somewhere else.
Exactly. And I mean, and I've been that guy where I was frustrated, and when I was working, I've been that guy where I was frustrated. Man, I can do more. But I never, ever, ever went to a show. I never, at the years I was at NWA Anarchy, and just was begging to just climb the ladder and just do something more, not because I wanted a title or because I wanted to push, because I wanted to get better and improve and have better matches and start showing people and opening eyes I can do stuff. And that was hard. And I got to do a little bit, not as much as I would have liked, but I got to do some. But I never, ever, no matter what, either didn't do what I was asked or just said, no, screw that, I'm doing something else, or not give 100%, like, oh, well, they won't let me do this, or they won't give me a little longer match, or they won't give me a push, I'll show them, and I'm just going to fuck this up. Never, ever did that even cross my mind. I still would go out there and give 100% and just wait and say, somebody's got to see something. Surely somebody's going to see this. And that's what people need to do. I mean, I promise you, and I do it, and I do it, and I can sit here and name names, but I'm not going to do that because there's no sense in calling out talent that I use because, I mean, I love our locker room. Our roster at Empire, I wouldn't get rid of anyone because if I would have already done that. But I love those guys, and I appreciate the hell out of all those guys. And we have the best talent in Georgia. We have guys that if they were focused, they will go on to do bigger things. We have guys that are going to go on to do better things. But I will take a guy who may be lacking a little bit in this area or this area. Maybe his promos aren't as strong. Maybe his ring work isn't as smooth. Maybe his psychology isn't quite there yet. But if that guy comes and he has a great attitude and what do you need me to do? I tell him he does it, or he fucks something up in a match, or he screws up, and I say, hey, don't do this again, or you need to do this better. And then the next time I see him work, I see the same situation, and he listens to what I said, and he doesn't do it. Or when people are giving advice, he doesn't roll his eyes, or he doesn't walk away and say, hey, that guy, why should I listen to him? He don't know what to talk about. I will use that guy every show that I ever book before I'll use the best piece of talent that's a piece of shit smartass, know-it-all, that just has everything figured out and you can't tell nothing to, and that won't listen to you. And then when you say, don't do this because it looks bad, or don't do this because you can't do it well, the next time they wrestle, they go out there and do it again.
Oh, I like the motherfuckers that look at you like you got a fucking dick growing out of your forehead when you give them advice. But like I've been doing this 15 years. I did have some family in the business. Like I've got to work around a lot of veterans. I'm not pulling the shit out of my ass. I'm repeating to you something that someone who actually did know what they were fucking talking about taught me.
Exactly.
So if you don't like it, then fuck off up a tree. I don't fucking care. It doesn't. There's no skin off my back one way or the other.
And guys, and I show my work. If someone does, I wish I could think of just a prime example. If someone does something that doesn't look good or that doesn't make sense, why would you do this in that spot? Why would you do this move there? Why would you do a small package as a hope spot when the small package is the finish of the match? Why would you do that? I don't go to the guy and say, hey, kid, don't do that small package for a hope spot anymore, and walk away. I've never, ever done that, ever in a position to help people grow and get better. I've never done that. I'll say, hey, don't do that small package as a hope spot. Why? And they'll look at me. They usually don't know. And I'll go, this is why. Because you did it as the finish. Why would you do it as a finish but have them kick out of the same thing earlier in the match when they're more fresh and not worn down and not tired? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Or don't their eyes to start the heat when the finish of the match is an eye poke behind the ref's back in a small package. 1, 2, 3, boom. That's the finish. Why would you do it earlier on? Like you said, I don't just pull this shit out of my ass. Hey, don't do that because I don't like you as much as I like this guy. I don't want to see you doing that. Never. I always show my work. I always tell them why. This is why. This is why. If I don't have a reason to say what I'm saying, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to pinpoint anything from the match. Oh, that punch looked horrible, and walk away. Why did it look horrible? Because it looked like you wasn't hitting him. It looked like he was your best friend, and y'all going to hang out after the show, and you didn't want to hurt him.
Well, then he's going to go on Facebook and fucking talk about it on the profile where he's friends with every fan under the sun at the card. But that's a whole nother
that's a part three podcast. And oh man, people will be so butthurt they'll think they'll got raped by a fucking locomotive. But yeah, we can't go into that one. But yeah, I mean, I always if I'm watching and I'm giving you advice and I'm telling you anything, I tell you why. And if I heard it from somebody, if I heard Roddy Piper writing a book or saying a shoot interview, focus on the finish of the match because the finish of the match is the last thing people see. If you blow the tackle crossover hip toss spot 5 seconds into the match, but your finish is top tier, no one remembers that you blew the tackle crossover hip toss spot 5 seconds to the match. They leave going, man, did you see that? He come off the ropes and, man, did that fucking flipping pile driver out of nowhere. It's crazy. 1, 2, 3. Oh, my God, this guy won. That's what people remember. And I tell people that, and then I see them the next week. It's going over their match. Yeah, lock up and take the arm and then put me in a hammer lock, and I'll go around. Why are you calling that? Why are you telling the guy to lock up? You got to tell me to lock up? You got to tell me to take a headlock? In a
wrestling match?
Yeah, exactly. And how many matches have you seen that are going great? Good opening, good cutoff, good heat, crowd's into it. They're going home. You know they're going home. Come back. Crowd's with the guy. Yes, come on, let's go. Oh, my God. 1, 2, kick out. I can't believe it. Come on, ref. 1, 2, kick out. Jesus Christ. Here's the finish. They fucked up. 1, 2, 3. Ding, ding, ding. And the crowd's sitting there looking like, what happened? Yeah, it goes over like a fart in church. No one cares. People, you've worked a perfect match for 9 minutes and 59 seconds. And the last second of the match, you blew it because you weren't focused on the finish, or you messed something up, a little small detail, or you were too tired, or you were too blown up from doing your 50 backflips, and you blew it, and that's what the crowd sees. And no matter what you did at the beginning of that match, they remember how you blew the finish of the match. And you lose credibility.
The guy who blew it was also going to be the winner. So as in victory, he's pouting around, obviously fucking just taking everybody out of the moment because he should be joyous because he won, but he's clearly pissed off because he blew the fucking finish.
He can't control his temper, even though it's his fault. It's his fault. He should be mad at himself. Well, maybe it's your opponent's fault. But that don't mean you show it. I won the match, and the ref raises your hand, and you swat your hand away. Jesus Christ. You kick the bottom rope, you leave, and you're huffing and puffing. They blew the finish. Well, did you have to tell the whole crowd that they blew the finish? Did you have to show it? Could you not get up and be like, yes, I won? Did you see it and come to the back and cry like a little bitch? No, you do it in front of the paying people. And then they go, oh, they blew that finish.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on this. I tell guys all the time, and it's like I'm speaking fucking Chinese. They look me right in the face, and they're like, oh, I don't know. I can do it sometime. If you've got the prettiest moonsault in professional wrestling history, if your backflip off the top rope makes the Great Muta look like fucking Yokozuna climbing up to the top rope, stumbling around, if you've got the best moonsault of all time, but you can only do it right 50% of the time, guess what? You shouldn't be doing it because you could be having a 5-star classic match. This match is awesome. It's great. I'm going to the top rope for my moonsault. I slip off the rope and fall and bust my ass. Guess what? You lost 100% of credibility with that crowd. The crowd instantly goes, well, I can do that. I can try to do something and fall. I can do a moonsault sometimes. I can do a nice drop kick sometimes. Don't do it. Don't do it. Have you ever seen Ric Flair do the moonsault?
Of course not.
Have you ever seen Hulk Hogan do the moonsault? Because I bet dollars to donuts they said, you know what? I can't do a moonsault. I bet I can drop this leg on a guy's throat and pin him and pose. I bet I can do that really well and sign the checks and take them to the bank every week. But guys, no, I gotta try to be the next indie king. I gotta have a 5-star wrestling match. Somebody out there is going to write an internet report about this that 4 people is going to read, and they've got to know that I had the best match tonight. So I've got to do the most moves. I've got to do the most high spots. I've got to do everything I know in one match and it not mean anything and mess up spots and look sloppy because I don't know many guys that can do that stuff, that can go 100 miles an hour and do every spot known to man. You know, and I know some talented guys, but they're not going to do that. They know better. The guys that do that cannot do it. They can never do it. Never, ever, ever can they do it. They blow up, or they mess something up. They mess something up and get frustrated. They mess something up and forget what next because they're frustrated. It goes to shit. It goes to shit really quick.
No, and I don't even understand the logic there because it's like, okay, we want to be the next indie superstars that get noticed, and that's all well and good. I mean, more power to all of those guys. Because they, you know, the ones that do it good are very fucking good, but there's a few of those and there's a million fucking copycats. And so by copying those guys exactly, you're not doing what those guys are doing, which is shit people have not seen. So you're not going to get noticed because you're just copying somebody else.
Exactly. And you're not doing it as well. You're not doing it as well as that person. Oh, he's trying to be this guy, but he's not even close. People don't want to see that, especially, and I tell people this and they don't get it. They're like, no, I can do it. We are in the South. We are in the southeastern part of the United States. People do not care about that. You can go out there and guys will do little spots like a pull apart spot or a brawl or a run in and stuff like that, and they'll go, man, did you hear that crowd? They were so into it, and that was so easy. Exactly. That's what people care about. You can go out there and kill yourself and get dropped on your head 4 times in a row, kick out at 2.5, and then lose to a fucking inside cradle or a sunset flip or something, and it really not make a lot of sense because of the way you executed it. And people will shit on it. They don't care. You just broke your neck for nothing. And then the next match goes out there. They do something. They tell a little story. They do stuff that looks good and crisp and looks like an athlete is doing it. Very simple stuff. Do some punches. Fight a little bit. Look like they're having an actual fight, and people go crazy. I mean, am I right or am I wrong?
It's just credibility is the word has come up time and time again in the conversation. Yeah. Credibility. Keep them in the moment. At this point, WWE couldn't rub it more in their face that it's a load of bullshit, but they know all of those superhero movies they pay billions of dollars to go see in the movie theaters every year are total malarkey bullshit, but they sit there and they buy into it while they're in it because that's the magic of what we do. If you can suck them in and you can capture them, if you're doing it right, they're not going to care. That's the thing. They're not going to care because in that moment it will be real to them.
Exactly. And I hate guys. You can do it. I hate guys that think you cannot do that. You can do that. You can absolutely do that, especially, I mean, you're not going to make guys think, oh, these guys want to kill each other. These guys hate each other so much. I mean, you might get some people with that, which is great, which is awesome. I'm not saying you have to make people believe that it's this match is a shoot, because no one's going to believe that whipping someone into the ropes and they just run back to you, that's not on the up and up. Not today. People don't believe it like that. But you're telling me you can't get people so involved and so into the story that they're like, oh, my God, and they forget that what they're watching is an act, is a dance. I know you can. I've seen it. I've done it. I've been watching matches, and I'm like, oh, my God, it's so good. Or you're telling me that you can't punch a guy and you have a punch that's so good that when you punch the guy, somebody goes, God, he must owe that guy money. He just punched him right in the mouth. And then the guy gets to the back, and you're like, hey, man, did he stiff you? No. He just knows how to throw an awesome punch. And he fooled everybody because they're like, Jesus Christ, you see that? People are like, oh, you can't do that. People know it's fake. Does that mean you have to rub it in their face? Does that mean you have to go on Facebook? I had a great match with my good friend tonight. When you were fighting over you were mad for some reason. You were mad about something. You're bleeding. Yeah. You're a bloody mess. Yeah. I had a 5-star classic with one of my best friends tonight. It was awesome. Tag them in it. Hashtag 5-star match. Hashtag wrestling's fake. And you got every mark that was in the crowd on your friends list. They read it. They comment, yeah, guys, that was a great match. You did a great job. I can't wait to come back and see y'all again. And then they're going to come there and really think y'all hate each other. That shit makes me so sick to my stomach. If you're going to do that, if you're going to use social media, which is cool, make a Facebook page for the wrestling character that you portray and add fans to it and get fans on that. And then when you go on there, post, I had a tough battle tonight against Sean Tempers tonight, and he come up on the winning end, but I'm going to come back. I want to come back stronger. Blah blah blah. You don't have to tag him in it. You don't have to say I respect this man because we've been friends for 10 years. And then have a page for your real life for your friends and your family, and don't add fans to that. Do the fans have to know what you ate for dinner? Do the fans have to know that you're at Walmart shopping? You checked in? Oh,
no, you're killing your own shit. Yeah, you're just killing your own shit. Better than a dog's dick, man. You're killing your own shit. And what it is like, I'm not saying that there's not friends that I've made with fans over the years who have supported me. I have made friends with some fans. I'm not trying to shit on all wrestling fans and say, but that I would never actually get to know you because I like to get down on that level, especially, hey, if I was the rejects or babyface in this area, then whatever. But, that's few and far between. That's the exception and not the rule. You really got to protect what you do. If they see you out taking your kid to Walmart, if they see you out getting McDonald's, it's not the same as being a guy under the lights as a superstar.
Exactly. Guys that come, fans that come to Empire Wrestling in Rossville, they know that a lot of the guys are from Rossville or live in Georgia or live in Tennessee or live in this area. They know it. I'm sure they know that these guys have 9-to-5 jobs and, independent wrestling isn't paying their bills. They know it. But you do not have to remind them. You don't have to rub it in their face. Me and you, we love comic books. We love the comic book movies. Who doesn't these days? They're huge. They're all huge. Do you go see Guardians of the Galaxy and Star-Lord is blasting up the prison trying to escape, and he stops in the middle of it and goes, hey, you see that? That wire grabbed that guy and yanked him up in the air. That's how he flew so far. Or you see this gun? It's just plastic, and they add lights afterwards in post. Nobody wants to see that. If I'm watching Captain America and he hits somebody with a shield and he stops and says, I didn't really hit him. I stopped 2 inches before his face and a wire yanked him back like I killed him, I'm going to go, what the fuck is this shit? What did I pay for? Am I right? No one wants to see that.
No, you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, we're running out of time here again. We may actually have to come back for a part 3. We've got 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes left on this broadcast.
You got what is with this podcast? I think we've been talking 10 minutes.
No, 45 minutes now. Well, we'll bring it back for a part 3. I'm totally fine with that.
I'll do a part 3. If you've got other guests lined up, I can come back. I can come back next week. But if you've got something else, I can come back in a few weeks. I mean, hopefully somebody.
No, I'm kind of getting to my end of the year, so I haven't booked, much very far in advance. So we can do next week.
Well, you let me know because I hope some independent wrestlers. I would love some independent wrestlers that wrestle for me. I hope they're listening to this podcast and go, you know what, this guy might be right, or this guy might have at least one opinion that I believe, and I'm going to conduct myself in that manner. I mean, that would be great. I can't believe we're out of time. This is great. I mean, I know we can rant and rave, especially me, but hey, that's what happens when you're passionate about something. I think maybe some people could pick up on that.
Yeah, when the time goes by fast, it's always a good episode. But that's all, fans.
Thank you.